Hello everyone, welcome back to Oak Island Research Channel. Bonjour, bon après-midi, bonsoir. That's gonna make Michael laugh. We have a pun about this and a private joke. So welcome back. I'm very happy to touch base with you again. Very happy to make this video. It's been a long time. I've been caught in my private life with my work. I got a company that's starting up and it's going good, but a lot of work. And also, you can't discover new things every day. We pretty much worked the map out and the whole theory we're going on, but we got a model working, and it's hard to find new things. Actually, it's just can't find new things every day. So I'm proposing you something today, which is on the side of Oak Island, but I think it's connected to it by the people who engineered this. This is called the Lyon Fishbone mystery. You maybe not know what Lyon is. Lyon is the city I live in. I'm going to, by the way, use fair use on YouTube. I'm going to use material that I don't own, that's under copyright. And I will just, according to the YouTube rules, I can, just for research and educational purpose. As I'm talking to you, Michael just sent me a text message. That's just how connected we are. Yeah, we talk each other every couple of times a week, definitely. So still on. All right, let's go to Lyon. Lyon is the city here I live in. I've been living in for 30 years. It's southwest of France, very southeast of France, sorry. Very old city, 2,500 years old. One of the oldest city with Marseille, which was founded by Greek people. And Lyon was the capital of France, or Gaul it was called at the time, during the Roman Empire. Lyon is an hour and a half away driving from Geneva, which is here in Switzerland, about 2.5 hours from Italy or from the Mediterranean. Okay, so it's a central passage point for commerce between Portugal, Spain, and Germany and the northern country, and between Italy that will take the same Rhone, that's the name of the river, the Rhone Valley, up to Germany and northern part. So a lot of commerce, a lot of exchange there. Old city. This is a picture of Lyon, 1 million inhabitants nowadays. It's a very good city to live in, not a lot of unemployment, pretty city, quite safe, and a lot of work around, so very attractive. And that's the view of Lyon from a specific suburb called the Red Cross, La Croix Rouge. And the Red Cross overlooks Lyon on the top of a hill and is surrounded by two rivers here and there. You can see the Alps in the background here. That's where we go skiing, an hour and a half away. And there's a huge cathedral here, a basilica actually, right there on the right-hand side. And that church here, that church is going to be of interest to us. This church is called the Saint Bernard Church. Saint Bernard was the protector of the Templars. They were placed under the patronage of Saint Bernard. That church, I think, never opened to public. They built it so cheap and so bad that it wasn't safe and it's collapsing. And I don't think there's ever been a mass celebrated in that church. But it's located at that very specific location where they found later, than the story I told you, entries to an underground system of tunnels. Mr. Walid Nazim wrote a book called The Mystery of the Fishbone, and I gave the ISBN, and I don't think it's been translated into English, and I'm going to educate you about this. It's all about that tunnel network. In the small street of Fantasque, one of the oldest streets in Lyon, in that area called Croix Rousse, at the bottom of the stairs of one of the streets there is that plaque there. People were complaining in 1950 and 55 and 58 of some areas collapsing and making sinkholes. And the city hall would come and make some fix and repairs, but it would coming up. So they decided to take the matter seriously and discovered at this location on which you have a huge plaque now, they discovered an underground shaft of 100 feet, 110 feet deep. And the shaft lands on two backbones. That's what they called. It's pretty big. Backbones here, inferior and superior backbones, two levels. And that's the superior backbone standing in it, and you can see those huge steps. And there are some side fishbone type transversal tunnels at each level for each floor. Surprising. That's the underneath, that's the base work of the base mat, I think is the name in English, of the soil. And the way it's built, you can see it was there for reinforcing the ground in order to take heavy loads on purpose in each of the backbones. This was engineered so that it can withstand heavy loads. That's one of the Fishbone, 30 meters long, 100 feet. You see there's masonry work. It's not just a tunnel. And this is a kind of 3D model of what you find here is those big steps at the upper level, superior level backbone, they call it. And that's the Fishbone transverse, 100 feet long each. Here you got a connection, they offset it for some reason and carried on the work. And you have a above one that's a secret one on which they found skulls and bones and corpse, or what's left of it, very old, you only have the bones, in the 1959 era, right after they started discovering that network that nobody knew about in the 50s. That's the height, 8 feet high and probably 6 or 7 feet wide. And there's a very strong base mat work there. So the function. The author asks about himself about what could be the function of this system of Fishbone. He first brings forward the hypothesis of a water drainage system or a water tank, a reservoir. But it couldn't drain water since the slope is reversed inside the Fishbone, and that would keep the water instead of putting it away. Now, what about a water tank, a giant water tank? Well, the base mat is not waterproof. It's strong, it's reinforcing, but it's not waterproof, and it would leak through the ground. So that can't be a water tank. The water wouldn't stay, it would leak. And finally, the whole construction is set above the groundwater layers, so no need to drain. You're above it already. A secret passage from a place to another? Why make 100 feet long transverse tunnels, and a lot of them, if you don't use them? Because they are dead ends, those fish bones, dead ends. So secret passage, a lot of work for a secret passage. Then he thinks about a shelter to shelter people from an army, an invasion, or a disaster. They calculated you could put 1,000 people in those backbone and fish bones. But the access is pretty complicated. Every time it involves a shaft of 30 meters, 100 feet down. And there's no accommodation for 1,000 people if you were to shelter them. No latrines, no toilets, no way to get water, fresh water. How do you sustain life for 1,000 people all stuck together in those tunnels? And oxygen and the rest. So it's not really a shelter. Then he thinks of mines. But when we build mines, we build them to last the time that we need to dig the mine for, not 100 years. And you don't make elaborated vaulted masonry in mines. Never seen any mine like this. Mines were not built to last century. This was. A stone quarry? Yeah, the fish bones are dug in a clay-based soil. There's no stone quarry reference anywhere around this location. Catacombs, where we would put bones and skulls, no plan in catacombs. Catacombs were made as they were needed to put more people and store more corpses, and they were usually made in quarry, unused and terminated quarries. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of quarry, you'll excuse me. Whereas this was a plan, this has a reason, this has a meaning. And the skulls and bones were found in a secret room, not exposed to anyone who wants to have access to them. So the final hypothesis the author made is storage. Huge storage place, and that kind of makes sense. Then it looks like, where else in France and elsewhere can we find such tunnels? On the left-hand side, you got tunnels of a castle named Beauvoisin, and on the right-hand side here, you got one of the Fishbone, and you can see the similarity in the construction of the vault and the masonry. And the Beauvoisin castle underground tunnel leads to this huge vaulted room, pretty big. So they knew how to make rooms back in the days, no problem. I mean, we're talking about 1300 here, 1300 after Jesus. So that's pretty old. And they knew how to make vaults under the earth, if I may, which is part of the coded message from the La Rochefoucauld map we've been studying. They knew they had the technology to make something like this back in 1100, 1200. Let's carry on. This picture was already shown, I think, in color by Michael, dot to dot, in one of his videos. This is St. John of Acres. And this is the same type of vaulted tunnel, but they come by pair now. They're parallel. It's not like one was leading one direction, one the other. They are just parallel and all the way through, and they are that big, and masonry and vaulted again. Somebody even put an arrow here on the top right corner. I've never seen that. Like, hey, take this direction. And it's full of sense, because maybe what you want to achieve doing that is bring things one direction while you're bringing back things another direction, right? So interesting. In France, near the chateau, the castle of Vassieux, they found the same type of double vaulted underground tunnel structure again. And the name that we gave them is, I didn't know that name before I read that book, Sarrasinière, from Caesar. It comes from a Roman root. I checked the etymology and the root of the word. It comes from Caesar, the Roman Caesar. Now, where it comes very surprising is that those side-by-side parallel tunnel of those dimensions we saw in St. John of Acre are also near Lyon. They found them right near Lyon on a network of tunnels, and that's what you can find them now. That's what's remaining. Of course, they come underneath and they're big, and they're under earth, but not very deep. They're just the service tunnels, parallel pairs. On a length of 5 miles, they are connected from the place at which the Fishbone terminates, and there's a connection from the Fishbone. You can enter those tunnel system that run 5 miles all the way to a village named Miribel near Lyon. And the lands of Miribel were showing and featuring a harbor, privately owned harbor at Miribel on that river named Rhône. At the time, the Rhône was the backbone of travel from south to north of France. That's how they would carry freight and cargo and passengers. So at Miribel, there's a privately owned harbor, and the lands here used to belong to the Beaujeu family. You may not know the Beaujeu family, but the Beaujeu family, at one point in time, one of the boys named Guillaume became the Grand Master of the Templar Order at the same period of time as Saint Jean of Acre was owned by the Templars. Wow. So we have a piece of land here, northeast of Lyon, called Miribel. There used to be a castle. It's owned by the Beaujeu family, and at one point in time, it's owned by Guillaume de Beaujeu, who's on the side the Grand Master Templar in France at the time. And you can find a tunnel exactly the same shape and architecture as the one you find built by the Templars in Saint John of Arc of Acres, side by side, parallel, leading to the entry of one of the Fishbone. And the author strongly believes, and me too, that the Fishbone were built upside down, from bottom to up. They were not dug from the city, because people would have seen, how do you move so much soil? How do you evacuate all that ground? How do you bring the people working in without making any noise secretly? It means you don't dig it from the street, you dig it from underground. And why you need 2 tunnels? One to bring the equipment and one to get the dirt out. Far, far, far away from Lyon, in lands that are owned by the person who's doing that thing. This is the area where the connection is made. This is the downhill of the Croix-Rousse, Red Cross, where the last Fishbone come up. And that's also where the Sarrasinière, the tunnels, the twin tunnels, end. In this drawing of 1735, you can see the Rhône River underneath. Fleuve is the river. There was an island there, and 100 years later, the city hall or whoever owned the city or the region decided to build over the island and regain some earth access over, reclaim some earth and soil over the river, making a straight shore, which was not before. So that happened around 1800 or 1760, I'm not sure. But we got a picture of 1550 that shows that this area of Saint-Clar, it's called the Saint-Clar region of Lyon, the Saint-Clar area. How funny it is, what a pun. From the Saint-Clar, you know, Sinclair. And that Saint-Clar here, where there was a harbor in 1550. And that's precisely where the connection between the Sarrazinière, the twin tunnels, and the Fishbones are. So you had the Fishbone that you could access from the top of the hill through a shaft, but was created and was meant to be accessed from the underground tunnel, commuting back and forth to the land that was owned by the master of the Templar. And the author finally proposes this picture. Let me zoom a little bit. He claims there are 16 crosses making the fish bones from the inferior backbone. You got an inferior backbone and a superior backbone that's not shown here. The inferior backbone, you walk underneath the whole structure, and the superior one, or maybe you get quick access to one of the region, I'm not sure. But there are 16 crosses, and I believe it's linked with the Templars. Voilà, so I will maybe do more videos probably in the days to come, maybe on this subject or other. I got other ideas. I'm not gonna spoil, so I'm not gonna say anything, but we're there, and we have the pleasure to talk to you again soon. Thank you very much for watching this video, keeping the channel happy, and talk to you very, very soon. Love you all. Bye-bye.